How's it going, guys? It's K Cars, and this video is going to be like a first impressions and also a driving review video of the new Jeep Wrangler JL, and I'm also going to be comparing it to the Jeep Wrangler JK. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so like I said, this is a 2018 Jeep Wrangler JL Unlimited. So it does have 4 doors, and this is actually the first time that I've ever driven a JL. I've only been driving it for like 5 minutes now. And my actual first impression of this Jeep is that it's really modern. Like, they really changed a lot of stuff coming from the JK. I'm used to driving a JK Rubicon, and the last year of the JK was actually the 2017, so this is the 2018, which is the first year of the JLs. If you guys aren't really familiar with Jeeps, those terms are kind of like what they use to call their different like generations of Jeeps. So it went like Willys Jeep, CJ, YJ, TJ, JK, and now the JL. Like I said, I am familiar with driving a 2017 Wrangler JK, and that one is actually a manual. This is my first time driving an automatic Jeep, so it's definitely a lot different. It's definitely a lot quicker too. I mean, just barely getting on it there. It does have to hold the RPMs a lot higher, obviously. It's not a race car by any means, like at all. It's a freaking tank. This is not the Rubicon. I believe this is just the base model JL. So right away, the first thing I noticed is that it's a lot more modern than the JK. And what I mean by that is that it feels more like a car than a Jeep. So I know they're kind of doing that to, I guess, get more people driving a Jeep Wrangler, make it more for the everyday person, not just hardcore people that want to go off-roading, which is, I believe that's what the JK was good for, and the previous models before that. I believe those were very good for off-roading, not very good for daily driving, like commuting to work and back home and stuff like that. Now the JL is definitely more modern, and I could see this being a good daily driver just because of how the inside is laid out. So you do have more controls, and I will go over that in a separate video. I'll probably try to make a review video of this Jeep if I get a chance. But another thing that I noticed is that the throttle response on this one is a lot better than on the JK. I feel like driving a manual Jeep, especially a JK, it's so much slower than the automatic. And I know that's true with every car, but I feel like with the Jeep, it's a lot bigger of a difference just because the throws for the shifter are so long. And I know I really shouldn't be comparing it to a sports car, but I'm just comparing it to like how the manual shifter feels in the manual Jeep. But like I said, the automatic version of the Jeep definitely feels faster. And I'm not sure what the horsepower numbers are for the JL, but I'm guessing it's a bit more than the JK. The JK had 285. Let's see if this guy gives me a wave. He did. Even though it's a JL, he still gave me a Jeep wave. So, I mean, some of those Jeep guys, they still acknowledge that a JL is a Jeep Wrangler. A lot of people that get a JL aren't really Jeep people at all. Another thing about the JL compared to the JK is that the brakes are a whole lot better. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say it. But, like, in the Jeep, you have to really, like, hit the pedal hard. It kind of feels like it's really spongy. And I don't know if maybe the brake pads just have to be replaced or what, but the JL is definitely a lot easier to brake with. He didn't give me a Jeep wave. JK, or no, I think that was a JL. Yeah, so none of the JL drivers are giving me a wave, but the JK drivers are. So, I mean, that kind of shows that the JL drivers aren't really Jeep people, like I said before. They're just getting into Jeeps, I guess, or they just treat it like it's a regular old car. So let's go ahead and check out how this JL does on some turns around here. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting it to be anything like a sports car, because this thing's pretty much a tank. But let's see how it compares to the JK. So I'm going about 30 miles an hour right now. And I mean, that wasn't really much of a turn. I'm not really going that fast, but it does feel a lot more stable than the JK. And there's also a lot less, actually it's about the same amount of play in the steering. Like, I can turn the steering wheel that much, if you saw that, and it's not really doing anything to the Jeep. But yeah, so the JL still has some of the characteristics that the JK has. like it still feels like a Jeep when you're driving it. The only reason I'm saying that it's less of a Jeep, it's more of like a modern car, not a Jeep, I guess, is because of the stuff on the interior. Like all the Jeeps before the JL were very minimalistic in my opinion. Now yes, if you got the highest trim level of the JK, you could get heated seats and all that cool stuff, but like the lowest trim didn't even come with air conditioning. So I mean, that shows you how minimalistic the JK actually was, and that it really is just an off-road vehicle. Like it's not made to be practical or be a daily driver to get you to and from work and stuff. It's made for off-roading, and that's what these Jeeps are great for. So yeah, this JL definitely soaks up bumps a lot better than the JK, but it still is a rough ride. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say it's like a cushion or like you're riding on a cloud like a Rolls Royce or a Bentley, because it really isn't like that. And like I said, it does drive the same as the JK, which is good, but it's bumpy. Like if you're going over bumps, it will feel bumpy. And also, the JK does not have like, I don't know what it's called. It's like auto start stop, I think, or whatever, when the engine shuts off if you're just sitting still in traffic. I'm not really a fan of that because it kind of, like, I guess I'm just not used to it. I've never driven a car that has that feature, but I don't like it for some reason. I know I guess it saves gas or something, but whenever the car just shuts off like that, it kind of makes me feel like something broke. I don't know, I just don't like the feeling of it just shutting off on its own like that. It's kind of just weird to me. I'm just not used to it. But there actually is a button right down here, if you guys can see that, to turn it off. So I'll hit that right now. The Jeep just turned off. I'll hit the button, and there you can hear that it turned back on. Now the transmission in the JL kind of feels a little bit clunky. That's kind of the best word that I can think of to describe it. I know that probably doesn't tell you guys much, but it kind of just feels like it's really mechanical. And I know for some things that could be a good thing, like a mechanical feel of the transmission. Like I guess for a Lamborghini Aventador, it feels really raw, and that's a good feeling. That's what you want. At least that's what I would like to have in a car like that. But for a Jeep like this, it kind of just makes me feel like it's a cheap transmission, not really that good. And what I mean by that is that in between shifts, it kind of like lags a little bit, and you can kind of hear it. Like the RPMs go up, and then once the gear engages, it goes back down. Just imagine a inexperienced manual driver, how like the RPMs go up, release the clutch more, and then the gear finally engages. That's what this Jeep kind of does sometimes. So the transmission isn't the greatest, but it definitely is faster than the manual, obviously, like I already said before, just because those throws are so long. You have to get off the gas for that whole time. Let's see how it soaks up these bumps right here. Yeah, I mean, really not that bad. And that's what I like about Jeeps, is that you really don't have to worry about like anything on the road. Obviously, if there's like a couch laying in the middle of the road, you do have to worry about that. It's probably not a good idea to try to drive over a couch on the highway. Yeah, if there's like potholes or stuff, you don't have to avoid them too much like you would for a sports car. Now yes, it still is a little bit bumpy like I said, but it does soak them up pretty well. I would say better than the JK. A little bit of an acceleration there, pretty bad, but hey, it's a Jeep. It still went a little bit. I don't know if you guys heard it, but if you did hear it, you could kind of see what I meant whenever I said that the transmission was kind of clunky. It kind of took a while to get to the next gear, and there's, like, you can hear that there was a lag whenever it shifted into the next gear. So I mean, that's not that great, but I mean, I'm not really expecting much from a Jeep. Like, it's not made to have a transmission that shifts fast like a sports car. I am a fan of like the shift knob right here, but I actually am a fan of like the whole redesigned interior. I know I said it was made to look like a more modern car, and like I'm used to the JK, so coming from that into this, I wasn't a fan at first, but I mean, it's actually really nice, like to have an interior like this and also be able to take it off-roading wherever you want, whenever you want. It's just amazing. Now it'll suck whenever you get the inside all muddy, or if you just stay inside while off-roading, that's probably the best. because I'd hate to have this brand new interior all like dirty and muddy and stuff like that. But yeah, it is really nice. Even the cloth seats are nice too, like they're comfortable. Yeah, the shifter's nice. The four-wheel drive shifter is also nice. The JK had like a really plasticky, cheap feeling shifter, and same thing with the four-wheel drive shifter as well. And for the infotainment, I believe this is a huge upgrade for the JL. Like coming from a JK to a JL, I don't even think you could get a screen like this for the JK, and especially not a touch screen. At least in my experience, the best you could get was like a 2-inch tiny screen. Like even on the highest Rubicon trim, all it shows is like, it has those like little green things that like tell us the time. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but that's all you got. It was just like a little tiny screen with the green letters and numbers that you would see on old cars. That's what you get in a 2017 Rubicon on the highest trim, unless you get like the extra package or whatever. But yeah, this is a huge upgrade, this screen right here. And then everything down here right below the screen, it has kind of like a metallic outline to it, which I like a lot. I like how it looks. It makes it look more rugged, and like this thing is, I guess it does feel kind of cheap, but like this whole center section right here does not look cheap. Like that's good right there. I guess the dash is the only thing that kind of feels cheap. And of course you still have your windows right over here in the center instead of on the doors, but you do have some controls on the doors. Then you have your cigarette lighter right here, your media, which is, I don't know, USB, aux, and some other thing that I don't even know what that is. And then with this, you do have heated seats, which you could get on the JK, but this one also has a heated steering wheel, which the JK does not have. And then something I noticed about this is that the driver and passenger have separate climate controls, but you can't actually sync them together. So like, I'm used to just controlling both sides from the driver's side, which I like to keep them all the same, because like if your passenger wants to have like 80 degrees and you're hot and you want 60 degrees, like it's not going to work out. It doesn't work like that. It's not going to be 80 on one side and 60 on the other side. It's just going to be in the middle. So I don't really see a point in having two separate temperatures, so I like to keep it synced up. Let's get acceleration here. That's definitely a lot quicker than the JK. That actually surprised me a lot. Like with the JK, it's so much slower, especially with the manual. Then visibility out of the Jeep is actually really good. Like with all Wranglers, I'm pretty sure none of them had problems with visibility. Now, you do have a really good rear view mirror, really good side mirrors, and then out of the back, there's literally no blind spots at all. Basically the whole thing is a window. You do have like a few inches in between the windows where you can't see, but I mean, that's not a blind spot. You're still going to be able to see a car through the windows. Like a little 2-inch section isn't going to block a whole car if it's in your blind spot. So yeah, no blind spots, very good visibility. Let's see how it turns around this roundabout. See if I can get it to flip. Okay, definitely a lot more stable than the JK. And I like the gauge cluster right here too. It's kind of like digital. It has a digital display also, but also like actual gauges with needles that aren't digital, and I kind of like that. I like having a mix of the two because I like being able to look at the speed with an actual gauge, one that isn't digital. But then also I like to see a digital screen showing different data, like your MPG, which I know isn't really that important, but maybe to people buying a JL, they would like to see their miles per gallon. But right now I'm getting about 15 average. So one thing that I also like is that you do get like a 4-wheel drive indicator here. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's kind of to the right of your RPMs. And it actually has like an outline of the same exact outline that's on the actual 4-wheel drive shifter. And the driving mode that you're in is highlighted, which is really cool. On the JK, if you're in four-wheel drive, you just got a four-wheel drive light that lit up, which is good. You know you're in four-wheel drive, but this is kind of easier to read because you know you're in 4 high, neutral, or 4 low. With the JK, all you know is if you're in four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive. That's it. So there you go, guys. My opinion on the Jeep Wrangler JL is definitely that it is an upgrade from the JK in pretty much every way. Like I did say, the interior is more modern and it's probably made for people that aren't really Jeep people. They just wanted to get a Jeep for a daily driver, which is fine. It's going to get more people driving Jeep Wranglers, which is always a good thing. But it is kind of taking the value away from what the Jeep Wrangler actually is, I guess, which, I mean, it's not a bad thing. These things are selling for a lot of money, but I am a big fan of the new JL. It's definitely a step up from the JK. It's definitely quicker. The transmission, I don't really know what to compare it to because I haven't driven an automatic JK, just a manual. But I do like the transmission. It is clunky, like I said, which, I mean, you're not expecting it to be like a sports car, so can't really complain about that. But here on the interior, it is a lot more modern. Like I said, the shifters feels a lot better than the JK. Same with the four-wheel drive shifter, and all the gauges right there look a lot better too. But if you guys want to see a more in-depth video of the interior of this Jeep, make sure to watch my review video, or I don't know what I'm going to call it. But there will be another video coming out with this Jeep, talking more about like the features and stuff about the inside more. This video is just my first impressions and kind of like a driving review. So if you guys enjoyed this video or found it entertaining, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and also give me some video suggestions of videos you would like to see in the future. And as always, thanks for watching.